Water does not sink a ship. It is the water that gets in. It sounds like a very simple, a bit too simple of a quote. However, it's true. A lot of the greatest sayings are very, very simple. And the reason is that a ship, it's floating on an ocean, it's surrounded by millions of gallons of water. And that water does nothing to the ship until it gets in. Oh my God. The ship does not sink because of what's around it. No, the ship sinks because of what is inside it. And people are very similar. In fact, you could say that they're the same. You could be surrounded by stress, anxiety, pressure, doubt, all these negative things, criticism, hate, anything like that. Anything that your storm looks like. And none of it will affect you until you allow it to enter you. None of it will sink the boat until you allow it to take control of your mental and allow it to sink you. Unless you take the negativity personally and you allow the weight of expectation to, sit on your shoulders, it has no meaning. It is simply words. It is simply water in the ocean. There's so much of it. It's so abundant that you're bound to come across it eventually. The noise is not what matters. No, it is how much of the noise that you absorb. Have you ever met somebody who, they look like they're going through hell? They're surrounded by stress. They're surrounded by all this bullshit, which is negatively impacting their life. However, they still walk around and prance around like everything's fucking sunshine and rainbows. Like they've got butterflies in their heart. That is not luck. That individual didn't get there from genetics or any of these other cope things that you're going to keep telling yourself, which is why you can't make it there. No, that is discipline. The way they got there is through hard-earned discipline. The art of keeping the water out is what they have studied. It is what they have learnt. And I'm not talking about simply ignoring your problems as if they don't exist, because that can go horribly as well. I'm talking about protecting your internal world, your mind, your heart, everything about it. Because once your internal world starts to flood, it doesn't take long before you cannot steer your own boat anymore, before you start to drift away, and before you sink. You do not drown in the environment that you're in. Instead, you drown by responding to the environment negatively. Think about the life that you live. How many times have you been knocked off of your course, off your path, off of the road that you're on? Not because of what happened to you, but instead because of how you reacted to what happened to you. Someone may have said something to you. Someone may have criticized your idea. They may have mocked your progress. You might have been in the gym for a while and you think, wow, I'm going good. Someone might have called you fucking small. And their comments, the things they said, might have stuck with you. It might have sat in your head on replay over and over and over, allowing you to begin to second guess yourself. Well, that is the water getting in. That is the negativity seeping into your mind. So sometimes life is about setbacks. Sometimes life is about failing, maybe failing once or twice. And instead of learning from those failures, you start writing a fallacy, a made-up story about how you're not cut out for this life, about how, you shouldn't be doing this, you're not successful enough to try this. That is the water getting in. Or perhaps it's anxiety if you want to transfer it to reality. Anticipating every single worst case scenario is just going to end up creating such fake stories in your mind that the water's not going to be the thing coming in. You're going to be the one drilling the fucking holes, allowing the water to just seep in easily and easily. You're going to be shooting fucking bullets through the bottom of your hull, making such big holes that water is bound to get in and you're bound to sink at that point. So how do you actually keep the water out? Well, to keep the water out, you must start with awareness. You must be aware of your problems. You must understand that you can't control the waves, but instead you're able to control the hull and control the direction of the boat. It means knowing what gets to you. Perhaps it's, people being rude to you. Perhaps it's people's opinions. Maybe it's your own self-talk, bringing yourself down. Maybe it's a fear of judgment or failure or rejection or, just not being enough. Once you identify these things, you have to seal them off. Because the truth is that life is going to test you no matter what, no matter who you are. Every single person that you look up to, every single idol, every single athlete, creator, entrepreneur, leader, they all had their own storms that they had to sail through. The only difference is that they didn't let the storms shape their identity. They stayed in control of the narrative inside of them instead of allowing the storm to take it over. The strongest people aren't the ones who avoid the pain. Matter of fact, they may even be the weakest ones. The strongest people are the ones who don't let pain redefine them. The ones who feel the pain and acknowledge it, but don't invite it to stay inside. Don't invite it to live inside of them. In fact, they process the pain, they learn from the pain, and then they move. And that's what the whole analogy, the whole video, that's what this whole boat shit is about. It's about understanding that you have to learn to, stay dry on the inside while the outside is soaking wet. Because the boat is going to be surrounded by water. There's such an abundance of water. And when I'm talking about water, I'm talking about hate. I'm talking about people's opinions. I'm talking about your own self-talk to yourself. You're going to be surrounded by that your entire life. The whole point is to allow your reality and your internals to stay dry. Don't let that self-hate. Don't let those other people's opinions. Don't let that water in to allow to sink your ship. There's a line from Epictetus which applies to this pretty well. And it goes, "It's not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." In other words, he's basically saying, to put it into my analogy, I'm saying that it's not the storm that impacts you. It's the story about the storm. It's how you allow the storm to affect you. The ship is simply steel, wood, and rivets, bearings, all these things, right? But the moment that water creeps into the ship, through any of these tiny little cracks, the pressure begins to build up. The pressure begins to perpetually increase. And the ship starts to fill slowly. Inch by inch, it starts to fill even. Not all at once. And that's how it happens for humans. Us. That's how it happens to us as well. You allow your anxiety to start building up little by little. You allow your day-to-day routine to start crumbling apart. Small little things start to fall. And, eventually it will get to a point where you're going to be overwhelmed. Because you never wake up overwhelmed. It's the build-up that allows you to become burnt out. The unchecked thoughts, the bottled up emotions which you keep pushing back and ignoring. The weight that you keep dragging around on your feet. Because you have to realize that you might be scared to drop this weight, but you have to understand that you do not have to carry everything with you. A lot of the time, people think strength is about holding everything together, never showing your weakness or being able to bottle up your emotions. But understanding that strength isn't silence and strength is clarity is powerful. Understanding this, understanding that knowing when to patch your ship is important. Knowing when to throw some baggage or cargo overboard. Knowing when to ask for help for steering the fucking wheel. That is true strength. You're not failing because you're a tired person. You're not broken because you feel things too deeply. You're human. You're real. You're a person. But if you want to make it to your destination, you have to stay afloat. That is a given. That is a bound thing that is forced to happen. So that means that you sometimes may have to let go of the things that are weighing you down, the things that you were never meant to carry. Some of you watching this video are dragging around old criticism such as it's a life vest. No, that criticism is an anchor. It does the complete opposite of what you think it does. Instead of helping you stay afloat, it's pulling you down to the bottom of the fucking ocean with it. So somebody may have told you, years ago that you're not smart enough, your dreams are so unrealistic, or perhaps, you won't make it. And for some reason, you allowed that to stick with you. You believed them for some reason, which doesn't make any sense. You allowed that person onto your ship. Even worse is that you allowed them to take control of the wheel. You allowed them to take control of the boat itself, to take control of your journey. And maybe they're gone, maybe they're not in your life anymore. But you have to patch the holes that they left. Even if they were wrong, the damage will still remain. So you have to plug the hole that they left in your boat. You have to rewrite your own story. You have to be the captain of your ship. Nobody else controls your life such as you do. Nobody else is the captain. You are. And even if it may sound dramatic, even if it may sound fucking over the top, it's your life, Every single day that passes by is one less day to get to where you want to and you need to be. You don't have time to allow these little things to keep coming into your life, these little things that don't serve you. You don't owe anybody else access to your mind. Just as a ship has doors and seals and boundaries, you need some too in your own life. Not walls per se, but standards, some sort of setting for you to allow yourself to have control over other people's actions upon you. You have to learn to protect your peace, protect your time, protect your energy, because these things are expendable and they'll never come back. If you allow your time to be wasted, you're never getting that time back. Every second ticks down. Does that mean that you have to ignore every single challenge that comes your way? No, obviously not. That's not what I'm saying. Ships themselves are built to endure the waves that come towards them. They're built to cross the whole ocean. They're built to ride the waves. You yourself are built to do the same thing. You are built to overcome the hurdles. You're built to take the waves head on and move past it. You're not fragile, nor are you helpless, but you're also not invincible, and you do not need to be. You just need to take care of what is inside you. You need to guard your mindset like it matters, because it does. And you have to understand that you need to stop waiting for calm seas to come. Because if you're waiting for your life to chill out, if you're waiting for, calm seas to come and stay, you're going to be waiting forever. Because there is no such thing as a perfect time. There's no such thing as a calm sea that will last forever. Storms are part of the ocean. Storms should be part of your life. You simply have to move regardless. So understand that you were made for these hurdles. You were made for all of it. Keep showing up and stop blaming the water. Start checking your hull. Stop blaming outward. What's the word I'm looking for? Stop blaming your environment. Instead, check whether or not that environment is negatively impacting you. Keep showing up. Like I said, keep steering forwards. Keep your hands on the wheel, because you are the one in control of your own life, nobody else. Your eyes should be on the horizon, which might take days, even years, months, however long, for you to find your desire. But that desire is your horizon. So keep your eyes on the horizon and make sure to keep your heart above the tide. Because water does not sink the ship. It's the water that gets in. So do not let it in.